I continue to refine my understanding of that template that exists all through religious and mythological material from antiquity, and finding a better understanding of the network of what is there. And I want to update my understanding, or at least my theoretical understanding. I keep waiting for other people to jump on board and say, buddy, I'm with you. I got this. I see what you're doing, and I'm coming up with the same thing. But it's not happening. So do I have anything, or am I making it up? Look, I can show this. It's demonstrable. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the channel, and I call it Just One Truth because there's only one thing. And the template that I'm referring to is a modified version of what we're going to find in Joseph Campbell's work, The Hero with 1,000 Faces. The hero's journey, basically. Joseph Campbell spotted in looking at all of these stories that there was some sort of a pattern thing going on. Even though the stories were different, there was like a selection process, a denial process. There's a part of the step in the beginning where you have to leave your past behind. You're struggling. You're going through a threshold, and we see that appear both in Greek myth, Jason and the Argonauts going through a clashing rock or some sort of a passageway that closes behind them. It's dangerous. Or whether we see Moses escaping with the Jews through the Red Sea and that closing behind him, that those sequences are always patterned in the stories, and they sequence in the same way. If you were to put the stories side by side, you would see those events occurring at the same time between the stories. There's a pattern. There's a sequence they are following. No matter what the person was doing, whether they were going to go fight Philistines or ogres, there's the same sort of pattern going on. And he realized that, and he knew that it somehow played out. There's some sort of a transitional thing between the human and the human psyche and the netherworld and all of that. And I took it one step further, and I played it out completely 100% in the psyche. And I discovered something over a long period of time, that this pattern is exactly the human life. Now, what I'm about to say is going to sound very foreign to a lot of people if you haven't heard anything like this before. It took a lot to get here, and it's theoretical. I just want to present it. But it's consistent, so much so that I think that, well, let's just move ahead. First of all, I want to say that there's variations to the stories from antiquity. Some of them contain like a creation. Some of them simply step right into where the material picks up and you are on a self-healing path. Now, let me describe what this is for, what I find the material is for. I find that the material works two ways. It works as a self-healing teaching that is nested, and you have to know how to extract it. But the story itself, the outer story, the religion, the shell, whatever the case may be, that works in the population of people that won't carry the template. The template is something that is going to be rare to be used. The material tells us that. The template needs to go all over the place. But we also need to send it, and we also need to have, when population's growing, what do we do with a lot of people pre-industrialization all over the place? Look at the rules they're making up in their material, and you see what their life is like at that time. Okay, I don't want to go too far in that sort of an explanation. What I want to do is work on the template. I want to go to a different direction. I'm going to leave the material alone for a moment and think of the human and the human life. This is what I see in the material. But think of your own life for a moment. When you're first born, we are devoid of really anything. You exist, but you can't see, you can't think, you don't process. You really are reliant on being cared for. We don't even have memories. There's not enough brain connectivity at some point in time when we're infants to even have that in place. That is the time in creation when there is a void and there was no separation. What is incredibly important to know at this point as well, though, is that we exist, and depending on where we exist, we're going to become products of that experience ahead of us. At this point in time in life, we can become anything. What happens next is that we grow and we develop, and we begin to remember things. We no longer just giggle because grandma tickles us. Now we're old enough to know grandma's coming over today and she's bringing cookies. Yay, I'm excited about that. Or I'm going to go play with my trucks or dolls or whatever the case may be. You get up in the morning. You are now developing where you have enough mental capacity to be in a little bit different, a different stage in human development. That part of creation is where we have finished naming everything. And we have become, we now have a conscious and a subconscious. We now have an Adam and an Eve, or something like that. I'll use that one as a common one. That type point is there. So the story is telling us about our own creation. First sin happens, that's when we start experiencing life, and life is not okay. We get hurt, we think things, we learn things. Maybe we're not hurt, but we just hate. We grow up in a culture. In fact, imagine this. You could take triplets from anywhere in the world and separate them at birth and raise them in different parts of the world. You raise one of them in India in a Hindu home, another one in a Middle Eastern country, and they are raised as a Muslim. Then the third one is raised in the United States and goes to a Christian home. They don't know of each other. They all grow up. If they didn't get any opportunity, they could hate each other simply because of what? They were just raised in different places and programmed in different ways from each other and didn't rise above it. We need to understand that is how everybody comes about. That is where we begin. Who gets beyond that? The material lets us know in the beginning when we're in that devoid space that we are ready to become anything, and that what we become in life is a product of what those life experiences are. And that's called sin, and we leave the Garden of Eden and all that. We're off someplace on our own, but all of this is our life experience. So we grow up, we're hurt, we're acting out, we're hiding that. At some point, if we decide we're going to go on a journey to change our life, that's when this material becomes ours. We can turn it inward. Straight up, this is where the few called come into play, or the selection process comes in. Who is going to turn it inward? Right here, you just drop most people. But what happens is that we need to go in and understand that we became products of those life experiences, and that was a thought process. And that we can, through thought processes, forgiving, rethinking, letting things go, that we cannot change the fact that those experiences happened, but we can render them ineffective to us. We can begin to extract ourselves from our early life through mental processes that occurred through life experiences as we judged life. As we had an experience and said, I hate that, whatever the case may be, that is who we are becoming. And we live through those experiences thinking we're in charge until we wake up and realize, oh my gosh, I'm simply a product of my experiences, and I'm not thinking beyond that. I'm thinking within that. Once we step outside of that, we begin to heal, we begin to do other things. The material takes us through this path. If we look at the Joseph Campbell template right here again, and I'm going to talk through it real quickly, we see this goes left. We have a call to adventure. There's a refusal of the call. We get supernatural aid along the way, crossing the first threshold, belly of the whale. We see that this is kind of nebulous. If you look at that, you say, how do I use this? This is the same template that Star Wars was built on. We connect with these stories because we don't know why, but they are us. It is us. This template is not something that was made up that we're supposed to follow. This template is based off of the life of a human who wants to heal and does so successfully. You go, the separation, the crossing the threshold, that's going into your mind. Belly of the whale, you're in your mind. The road of trials, this is going through your own issues. But I think somehow we're not consciously aware of that. And as we go through the story, there's somehow this background connection with it. It makes us feel good, and it makes us, we get done watching those movies and we're all heroes, aren't we? It has some kind of a psychological impact on us, doesn't it? The hero's journey stories do that to us because they are us. But in most cases, they're the things that we want to do but don't do. But we have to play the story out Take the beginning of your life. That's the far side of the world. In some stories, the beginning of your life till now, that is where this story plays out. We don't look at that as something historical or something that's future. We look at it as something that is us. This sounds weird, but they're using analogs to do it all. An anchored ship cannot sail. Sounds like a ship can't sail, but if I am the ship, sailing is freedom in life, and I'm hanging on to something, if I play it out up here and realize those are analogous terms that are holding a teaching that I'm supposed to interact with, then I can extract that from it. And so can anyone else. They would use that same process and everybody would extract the same thing. Oh yeah, shame, pain, hurt, something. I got to forgive. I'm somehow hanging on to something that I can't escape. And then the material tells us then we have cyclical problems that continue to come back that we have to leave. Those are the parts of the template that I'm going to put in more plain language, because then they become at once interactive steps, psychologically interactive steps. They're not the nebulous nature of Joseph Campbell's. I'm going to just modify his verbiage. Here's how we go. I'm going to add a couple of things too, but I'm going to show you that we can see what I'm going to add in the material. We'll see in step 1, for example, that he doesn't have that cyclical problem happening, that there's a part of the material where we have issues from the past. And those are represented in ways that are like, if you're familiar with fallen angels or Anunnaki, Gigi, there's a variety of ways to express. It's the first place I saw it was in the Babylonian creation myth, the Enuma Elish. And when the defeat of this happens, these things are kept trapped someplace. You can't kill them. They're protected. We even see it in Greek myth, but they're rendered ineffective. What this represents is that we have had bad experiences, maybe been molested, and forever pain, hurt, anger, until you find a way to let that go. And then it changes your life. So what happens is the memory of it is still there, but we've rendered it ineffective. We transition it that way, and all of those sequence again at the same place. But that's something that Joseph Campbell didn't identify in step 1, but we'll see it in the stories. We'll see struggle to leave the past behind, the plagues that come after Pharaoh, or as Phineas in the Greek myth in the Argonautica, Jason and the Argonauts, says he can't eat because the creatures keep coming down and defiling his food. They eventually get trapped, but they can't be killed. Zeus doesn't allow them to be killed. It's that same story element that's there, that they're all representing in different analogous terms to a different culture. The idea that there is some, when we transition up here, that's our anger, that's our pain, that's our shame, that's our monsters that act out. That is what those are representing. They're all representing that when we turn it inward. We see they're structured on that template. For me in the supernatural world, all of those things, the Watchers and all of that stuff are these wonderful elements creating giants that, are a problem that are taking over the world. These are all representing our life experiences in the most fantastical ways of telling a story, that we're being overrun by creatures. This is our early life when we're not awake and we're having bad experiences, whether we are victims or perpetrators, or typically maybe a little of both. Maybe we're just victims. Maybe everything is okay, but we become products of that. And we have cyclical issues because of it. And then we have another issue that he didn't have in. I think it's part of maybe denial of the call, but it's difficult to leave the past behind. We tend to see in these stories that when you're trying to leave the past, they still come after you. Pharaoh comes after Moses. Talus comes after Jason. Just examples I'm working with here recently. But we see commonly those story elements there, that as we're moving along just before the escape, that it's difficult to leave your past. That element is there, and you have to somehow pass through a barrier to leave it in the past. All right, what I want to do is just rework the first part of this template. There is more to it, but the video can get very long. The call to adventure, refusal of the call, the supernatural aid, and the crossing of the first threshold. I'm going to convert that over to a look like this. There's what he has going on. Actually, he has another one, belly of the whale, And in his book, he has specifically listed that as part of first stage. The graph just doesn't quite show it that way. But what I'm going to do is convert this then into something that is interactive, something that we can utilize for ourselves. And I'm going to add in the pieces that I believe need to be here. And I will also explain why I think that they are actually here. And seeing them is difficult when you're looking from the outside, and it's easier to see them from the inside. That'll become clear later if that doesn't make any sense. Okay, first off, there is something before the call to adventure. I'm going to add in here that elect is there. Few will take this path, this true path. We're going to see this in the material where there is an elect. We see it in Moses being hidden in the river. We see it in Jason being sent off so that he's not killed as an infant. We see this material in Jesus saying that while many are called, few are chosen. There is few that are going to do this. And at the start of each story, you're going to see something like... Actually, I still have Enoch sitting right here on the desk, so let me take a look at this. Here's how these are going to start. And he began his story saying, Enoch, a righteous man whose eyes were opened by God, and who saw the vision of the Holy One in heaven, which the angels showed me. Yeah, Enoch was chosen right there at that moment. A righteous man, looking for the truth, chosen by God. The chosen happens right there. We become Enoch on the story. That means we are ready to begin this adventure. You've been chosen to go by whatever. And this genre of material is chosen by God. In other types of material, it's other reasons. But again, when you take this path, the choosing is you. It's a self-choice. It's you saying, I'm done. I'm fit to be tied. I have 2 lives to live. And the second one starts as soon as I realize I only have 1 life to live. I got to go back and fix things. My life is not okay. That is the point where we decide to go. Okay, I think that the material is kind of thick and that some people are on board. There's a mental process that some people just have. They pick up on this, and there's others that are probably never going to get it and never see it and always call me crazy. And that's okay. What I want to do now is jump through here a little bit quicker. We just did the elect, few will take this true path, and let's go through the rest of these and see what we come up with. Number 1 converts from call to adventure to I am ready for interchange. Refusal of the call. Now that one happens, but it doesn't happen all the time. We see it in places as when God calls Moses and Moses tells him, no, he denies it. He tries to deny it. I don't know how critical that is, but it is a part of the story in many cases. We see that same thing happen with Muhammad when it's time for him to learn the message that's going to be the Quran. And he's like, nope, I can't even speak right. Yeah, the Quran contains this as well. As I think about it, the most significant thing I believe that it could be is that we just struggle to go, that we know, yeah, I know what I need to do, but I'm not going to do it. I know I need to do this thing here, but I'm not going to. That's probably the denial of the call right there. And that happens early on. The refusal of the call doesn't always happen, though. This is just a part of the story element that might lead to something different. And I'm going to suggest there is something that is also evident, and it is separate in some of those stories. Some stories have a refusal of the call plus this second element, and some just have this element right here. They don't have the refusal of the call, but they have cyclical problems exist, and it's difficult to leave them behind. This is the plagues, the harpies, the issues, the giants from the watchers that have made love with and had sex with and offspring with the women or the children, the beautiful women and daughters of men. These are all representing our early selves. These are all analogous terms for our conscious, our subconscious making decisions, doing bad things, having stuff happen that are bad offspring that take over now at that point. That is where all these cyclical problems exist from, and it's why we have to take the path to begin with. It exists up here in the beginning. It might be the first step, actually, where we go, cyclical problems exist. What the hell is the matter with my life? What am I going to do? This might be the very first thing, or right around elect. I'm ready for an interchange. At any rate, you see how these go together up here. The supernatural aid is a part of the story as well. Moses goes up on the mountain. Jason gets he's brought up to the gods. Here is what I am going to suggest supernatural aid is that it is how to use this material to self-heal. There's a template in here to follow, and there's procedures to interact with the self in this material. The way the stories unfold is such that this is complicated, but you can say your mind, your conscious, and your subconscious are male and female, and they make a decision that is not good, or the consciousness has an experience. That's it, and that experience makes them decide, I am ashamed of this. I don't like that. I feel bad. And they put it away. That's the creation of an offspring. You can call that a daughter or a son. And it's going to be a bad daughter or a son because it's a bad thing that happened. This is just an analogous chain of things that are happening, that are unfolding in a mental hierarchy. The way these stories are written are such that it goes from that simple all the way up to you are now this person at this time in your life. Later on, you've given offspring to something else that is bad, that takes over, that gives offspring to something else that branches out. And these are all representing our qualities, our characteristics, and who and what we are at various points in time. I'm happy. I'm sad. Those are two different people. I should do this. No, I shouldn't. Those are two different people. Between the ages of 5 and, whatever, this development where I'm innocent, I'm this person. Then I turn into this evil thing, and all these bad things come in. All of these are layers within the story that just get bigger and bigger in a storytelling culture. This is how to use the material to understand that we are an electrochemical storage device connected to a central nervous system that gives us feelings and sensations and emotions, and that we grow up through some place and we become something. But what we become is simply a mental product, and this is how to work mentally through to create the changes. Crossing the first threshold is turning inward to the memories in the self. You just went inward through the narrow gate. Belly of the whale, you are inside your mind. These at once become interactive when we do this to them. And we see that there are other parts of the story, and we can see when I added intellect and the cyclical problems exist. Do you see that I'm not just arbitrarily throwing those in, that I'm finding that in the material? There's elected in there. There's everybody that goes is elected somehow. And there's cyclical problems that exist. And sometimes the cyclical problems are not shown as cyclical problems. It's simply shown as the God puts everything in motion. Period. The cycles happen. Everything rotates. This is at the same point in time showing cycles, but it's showing that not just the problems, but everything. Whatever we decide continually plays out, good or bad. In this case, we're going after bad. So, the story is not showing that we're having a hard time leaving our good. It shows that we're having a hard time leaving our bad. Our past, our habits, our hurt, our pain, our conditioning, all of those things. We're struggling with that. That's how this unfolds. I offer up for your consideration within the framework of this thinking that during the creation phase in Genesis, early on, well, actually, it's after the creation phase and after first sin, and then the punishment happens. What is Eve told? Remembering now that Adam is going to represent our conscious self, and Eve is going to be representing our soul, our spirit, or our mind, our memories, this bundle of things that we are building and becoming. Eve and all of the sin is her becoming influenced by life. First sin is that. We've now lost our happiness. We're out of the Garden of Eden. I'm offering this as an analogous and metaphoric, interactive step. What is her punishment? That she must... One of the things is that she will continually have painful offspring. She will give birth, and it'll be painful. And of course, that happens in life. But was that ordained by God, or did they just go, hey, let's pick this analog over here because it works? Every time whatever this backs out of a person, it's going to hurt them. It's painful. Perfect nesting. Guys, you too. Whatever is inside of us when it's acting out can be a skeleton emerging from the closet, a demon that is coming out, or in this case, it is being called painful birth. They're all the same. Okay, I promise to resist getting overboard with this one in the video, so I'll just kind of talk about a few more things. The world that exists is our world. What it has become defiled with is our old life. All of the things that are out of control that need to be wiped away is our earlier self. When we're ready to wake up, we realize, oh my God, I came from a place that taught me this, and I realize there's something bigger than that, and I can get out of that. These fixed beliefs that I was given, I need to let those go. They were necessary to start. They're necessary for humanity, I guess, civilization. But when you're ready to emerge beyond that, you have to let that go. That's where we are here. What happens then? You go on to purge your world. A flood story. That's why they're common. Floods, what do floods do? Out in a place like that where it's nasty, what I mean by that is imagine along a river and a river delta and a big plain, and people are just, the population's getting big. But everybody's on foot, walking, animals are walking. There's really no resources and facilities. At some point, probably before a flood, this area would probably be pretty nasty of dead animals and different things nobody's going to go haul it off. You're walking on foot. You're just trying to exist. It's going to be a different world. A flood comes through, wipes it all out. Oh yeah, perfect analog for cleaning things out. Flood comes in, wipes everything out, and it starts over again. These become elements that continue on. Maybe somewhere else it's defeating of an enemy and taking over a town, which is carrying the same teaching, as different as it sounds, because it plays out in here. And all of those are analogous representations of who and what we were to begin with. When we're ready to change, we have to go after that. We have to forgive. We have to release ourselves from that stuff. Very specifically, too, I want to state, because I left this out, there's a destination we're always looking for on this path, and that path is self-healing. There's a point where it talks about apotheosis, some sort of achievement of divinity or something like that. And that's why I don't like the term. It works good in the story, honestly. If you're making a story and creating a story to carry the template, that's what you want. There's some sort of, somebody achieved something special. But when you play it out in the psyche, what it really is letting go of that stuff that you're hanging on to and feeling a sense of relief from it. But moreover, as this carries on, not only do you feel a sense of relief, but you are no longer attached to it. You don't experience pain anymore. You are comfortable with negotiating in and out of your psyche and helping other people do it, and your life can change as a result. All of those are a part of this process and a part of the teaching that continues on. It's not just about feeling better. Your entire life improves as well. You're focusing on taking your previous beliefs and changing them into new beliefs, and then having your life flow in a new way. Yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell what it is. But it entails along the way that it's difficult to do. Not many people are going to do it. You might even struggle to return because your changes might be so significant that you no longer fit in the environment you fit in. You're outgrowing it. It might not be that extreme. It might be that you just, your life is happier. You had something you had to resolve and now you feel good. You might have come from a place that is so bad that you are constantly working on it over and over again, going on the path again and again. What's next? Oh, what else hurts? Oh, what's this? All of that will continue to be there. Okay, what I want to suggest then is that if you look in Greek myth, you can see a network of stories. A story will happen, and then there's little trail pieces. Somebody was set to sea, or something was left. So that's a weird thing. Somewhere else, another story picks up right from that point. They're creating network points to make another story. And then the stories happen. And then each story from then on it branches from the next place, and it's built on this template. And they leave little hook points, and stories build off of them, and those are built off of this template. So at some point, there's a network of stories happening, all built on this template, but they're different analogs. Creation, human creation, 7 days. I'm going to contend 7 days is analogous for the idea that means the time frame from when we were first born to the time that we became conscious, happy children that could remember and that liked things, could make decisions, but we were at a glee point. That right there, that's a moment in time that is going to be described in Hebrew and Christian works, a 7-day period where we're looking to get back to for happiness. That represents, to me at least, in this, as I look at this, that time in our life before we started committing to our choices that wired us into becoming what we were and began fixing us into becoming something that we might want to leave behind. So in the simplest terms I can put it, that what we want to do is become 7 days old. But what that means is to become the individual that has conscious and subconscious without commitments. We can be happy and all that kind of stuff. What I mean is the stuff that takes us off our course of being happy, of living a good life. But more than that, we are living in such a way that we are disconnected from what is going on around us. We are not a product of what is happening in the environment while we react to it. We are stepped back from it enough to realize that it is something in action, and if us jumping in simply adds to it, doesn't improve anything. So we are learning that the best thing to do is to extract ourselves from it as opposed to adding to it. All of that is a component part of really enlightenment, or yeah, that's it. That's what we're looking for in this. Once we turn it inward, whatever happens after life happens after life. But this material contains this template, which tells us to do this right here. I'm doing it. I am doing it. In fact, since I see the template so commonly now, I realize that the template is what you are supposed to do. Okay, well, we see those connections in Greek myth, leaving somebody at an island who can't go along or something like that. Ooh, guess what? Story picks up there later on, all that kind of stuff. A similar thing is happening in the Hebrew work. We have the creation story, and it goes through Moses leaving, the whole process. If this is an individual process, we're going through a healing and a rebirth, but it continues to go on and on and on. This is a huge culture, and this is what they do if they're not working. And they're working with their hands. And they have no technology, but they are intelligent, and they're telling stories, and they are making stories so advanced we can't fathom it. This is a network that goes and goes. And watch something here. I'm going to jump away from Genesis and grab another piece of material to show you how this connection can work. All right, I'm going to go to the Bible and to Jude. There's 14 and 15, I think. Let me just read a few verses here. It was also about these that Enoch, in the 7th generation from Adam, prophesied, saying, "See, the Lord is coming with 10,000s of his holy ones, to execute judgment on all, and to convict every one of all the deeds of ungodliness that they have committed." I'll stop there. That's the mention of Enoch. That's it right there. Who's Enoch? 7th from Adam. 7th. 7. Creation happened. We just created a starting point for someone to go on the hero's journey. Then what happens if we go to the book of Enoch? How does it start? The words of the blessing of Enoch, with which he blessed the elect and righteous, who will be living in the day of tribulation, when all the wicked and the godless people are to be removed from the earth. That is our turning point. This is us, Enoch. I am Enoch. I am blessed and elect. I'm blessed and elect. What does that mean? I'm a rare person. I'm not blessed, righteous. I'm looking for the truth, no matter what. I just want the truth. The day of tribulation is the day that I decide I am done. I'm going to be the one that goes back and takes care of my past. And the wicked and the godless inside of me are going to be removed from the earth, my life, my world. The hero's journey picks up from there again. I think we got the same network going on. And it's so big I can't see it. I need help. I can't, I feel like I'm just peeking over the edge of something. It's like, the more I can see, the more I go, oh my God, it's like that Indiana Jones warehouse in the end. And you're outside looking in the window, and the window's dirty, you can't see. That's how I feel right now. When I started off, I was like, man, I got something here. Now I'm this far along and going, oh my God, I had no idea. I can't see it all. Anyway, I don't know what else to do in this video. I just wanted to say that, kind of throw it out there. I see something much, much bigger than the individual stories. You step back, there's a network of, boy, I don't know. It's going to, think about it. Storytelling culture. What do you do on a day-to-day basis? Imagine your day-to-day basis is suddenly wearing your robes and walking. No radio, nothing. No computer, no connectivity. These stories would be huge. It makes sense when we take ourselves out of our modern-day biases and realize that they are working on these stories every day for their lives for hundreds, thousands of years. And we're looking at them now thinking we're on the outside. We're trying to figure out the analogs and why they do or don't work. And the reason they do work, oh yeah, of course. I'm creating a story in my culture with my people, and whoever our enemy is, I'll just create that as whoever your enemy is. And I am the good guys. If I'm on the path, if you're on the path, if you're looking inward, you become whoever your people are. We're the blessed ones. We're the chosen ones. See how that works? And everybody carries that in the culture going, oh yeah, we're the blessed and we're the chosen ones, when really the blessed and the chosen ones are the ones who figure out the material. And the enemy they have to go defeat is the stuff, they know that it's they know it's not the Philistines. They know the Philistines are analogous to their issues. Yet it works perfect in the culture. The pattern's still there. The template's still there. What do you think? I needed to go back and add this in. In Jude, as I was reading it, the letter of Jude, trying to find that spot, I found something else that I've never read this before, but you spot them all over. It is 5:6. And the angels who did not keep their own position, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains and deepest darkness for the judgment of the great day. Remember about 11 minutes in, I was talking about all the part of the story where they're trapping whatever it is and keeping it trapped somehow and rendered ineffective. That's what we just saw right here again. And the angels who did not keep their own position, those are not angels out there. Those are the parts of us that when they, in the early time of our life, they are powerful. You could call them demons, or you can call them angels that went bad. What is it? It is first I was loving and happy. I cared and I did all those things. Now what happened? I don't anymore. I'm mad and I'm angry. That has to be kept put away. Those are analogous to that part of us. And I encourage you to just look. I make that claim when in all reality, how can I make that claim? As I continue to try to fit it into the psyche, into the life of a human, into the cycle, what really emerges is the ideas that I had something happen that affected me in a really adverse way. But I was able to put it to rest, and it is now trapped. It was a powerful thing, but it no longer is. It is inside. It is not dead. It is representing, I still remember what happened, but it doesn't hurt me anymore. That's where it always fits and how it would play out and what I believe it is. Yeah, Watchers, Anunnaki, fallen angels, the GG, the angels here. It's a continual thing. In Greek myth, it's going to be some other kind of creature that somehow gets rendered blind and trapped in a cave or something like that. It doesn't get killed, but it gets rendered at this part. It gets rendered ineffective. Later on, things do have to be destroyed, but at this part they don't. You'll see the difference if you watch. Anyway, I hope this was fun. I find this exciting, but it just gets bigger. And I have to say, I have to make videos because it helps me practice. It helps me see more. It helps me learn. These are more vlogs, aren't they? Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Love one another, and I'll see you in the next one.